happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Howdy, occupiers. I'm David Ciarlupe. With me today on Occupy TV is Plaedo Wellman. Is that?
Sure.
Okay, very good.
MC Plaedo.
Yeah. What, MC Plaedo?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Occupy TV in general is a conversation about all the issues that are bringing the Occupy movement out into the streets, activating us, and driving us to hopefully make a better world for us and the people we share it with. Today we're going to talk about art, performance, culture, and the key to how those are the key to
helping sustain a thriving social movement.
Sounds good. I like it. That's why you're here, because you know what we're going to talk about. So let's get that going then.
Okay.
How are we going to sustain a thriving social movement using art and culture?
I think one of the biggest problems that we have in this day and age is the breakdown of community. And we can point to various factors and various causes to talk about why community broke down. And I think if we are going to create a better world, we have to revive a sense of community in the world. And we have to have kind of a revolution of relationships and redefine how we relate to businesses, corporations, governments, each other, ourselves. So we got to do some community work, and culture is the glue of community. And so for any social movement to make changes, you're going to need culture to sustain and keep people together and to create shared stories and values that people agree on and try to live by.
Okay, all right. And you are you were talking about how you want to dig deep into the philosophy behind that, behind the culture, behind developing culture, and how are you going to use music and art to do that? Now, do you want to focus on just Eugene, or do you want to talk in general terms about how is culture going to build community worldwide, or is it we just building culture here in Eugene?
Well, I think that wherever there's problems, then when we're looking for solutions, we're going to have to create a culture of solutions. I think it would be maybe best to talk about culture and art and music in a very broad sense.
Let's do it.
And a historical sense. And later we can narrow our focus down to Eugene and what that means in our own community.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, and so one thing that I think of, just to hint at the importance of establishing a culture, is when I was watching Kundun last night. It's a movie about the Dalai Lama and when the China came in and occupied Tibet. And one of the first things they did was they took away the culture. They started blaring Chinese music in the public space of Tibet, out drowning the monks chanting, out drowning their own native indigenous culture. And they really implemented their own Chinese way of being, like through putting in lots of immigrants, through various measures like that, to take away Tibetan culture or diminish Tibetan culture. When oppressors come in, you can see time and time again, that's one of the first things they do. It's like when the conquistadors came to South America, what did they do? They took away the indigenous religions, which were the foundations of their culture, and they implemented Spanish and foreign type of culture, foreign art, foreign belief systems. They even, and on its most far out level, you replace the indigenous gods with the gods of the conquistadors or the conquerors. And so time and time again, you can see that when oppressors come in, they take away a culture. And in a social movement like what we are dealing with, we need to create our own culture to combat that. Like as Americans, like we have a whole culture industry put out there. You see it on the magazines. They make me feel not quite attractive or rich enough.
So do you feel like we've weaponized culture almost then with those images on the magazines?
I do think that culture can be a weapon, yes. And
so we need to develop it as a counter weapon almost.
Yeah, counterculture.
Counterculture, it is, yeah.
To react and respond and get around this culture that they just place on us, you know, like where are we going to get our values from? Are we going to get from American Idol and Time magazine, or are we going to look within ourselves and look at our neighbors and friends and start creating a more organic type of culture? It reflects our actual living situation.
Right. Yeah, instead of waiting to see what the memo is from on high, just start interacting with each other and seeing what develops. Yeah,
and you know, like if we get our culture spoon-fed to us from sources that aren't really connected to us, it limits our belief systems of what we think is possible and what we think we can do. And I think that we need to create a new culture or empower ourselves, and in the process of creating our own culture, we can realize that we have a lot of power to directly affect our lives, which when I watch the news, I don't usually get a sense that I have power over the aspects of my life. I usually want to go hide in my house with guns because it makes me think that there's crime everywhere.
I have a tough time imagining you wanting to hide in your house with guns.
No, but you know what? I'm thinking about my grandma. She watches the news all the time, and she's like, the world's filled with crime, sex, and fires. That's all it is. You know?
Well, okay, how are we going to find that? If we're just going to be looking, you know, down the street, downtown, where are we going to find that culture? I mean, because right now, it's Avengers, and it's you know, what's on TV, what's in the music, you know, that's being pumped in from, like I said, on high. How are we going to find the culture between you and me? How are we going to find the culture here locally?
I think that it's our opportunity to co-create it. And real fast, are we ready to go into the local stuff, or
we could
we can bounce around.
We can bounce
maybe.
around.
Yeah.
This is organic.
So
you're an artist.
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
Follow you.
We're gonna freestyle it.
Yeah.
So you know, in terms of that freestyle, here's a good example of how we've started to create a culture. I can go like this. And you know what I'm talking about. This is art. This is culture right here. I can go like this, and you know.
And I know that you're going to be a problem while I'm facilitating a GA. No, that's not it. I know that you are going to be drawing attention to something that the community needs to know about. That's what that means. Yeah. But yeah, I understand it. Not everybody does, but culture has begun to arise from the ground up.
Yeah, and it's a big project, and right now a lot of work needs to be done about it, and it's easy to feel...
It's a big project. What is it that's a big project?
Creating culture.
Okay.
And, you know, we're not creating a culture out of nothing. You know, culture always works off of the past and the foundations of the past and builds towards the future.
Yeah.
But implementing and shifting the paradigm of society and the culture that we have in Eugene, and really gelling it into place is a lot of work. Like, you walk downtown in Eugene, and it doesn't really have much of a unique scene. And Eugene is filled with more beautiful people than any place I've ever lived. I've been to 38 states. I've lived around the world. Eugene's amazing, but we're missing that culture downtown. And it's a fun, huge project to implement and help create a culture. And my goal is by the end of the summer that Eugene will have that, and that on a Friday afternoon people will be like, what are we going to do? Well, let's go downtown and hang out.
Oh yeah. I'm with you there too. As we look at this summer coming up, and I think a lot of us right now in the Occupy Eugene movement specifically feel like things are starting to slow down and unwind maybe. But I think the reasons that we came together back in October are still present. Mm-hmm. We haven't changed anything substantially yet. We've changed some things on the margins, but the issues on a national and international scale remain unchanged. And the reason that we have for getting together and working together is still present. We haven't changed that. So this summer, I think, even though there is some concern that maybe things are not as strong today, here, now, that by the end of the summer, I think they're going to be hopping hardcore, you know. And we need to be able to make that something that is coming from ourselves. We're not taking the word from on high and spreading it, you know, to our fellow occupiers. We're getting together with our occupiers and we're creating the message and we're calling people in to help us share in that message. I suspect that's what it is that you're saying too.
Yeah. So there's a few things that you said that I really agree with, and I will play off those.
Sure.
And one is the idea that we haven't changed things on a big international scale. We've done some good work, and we should celebrate our successes. You know, like all the money we helped transfer to credit unions from banks on November 5th was a beautiful amount, and in my head, I don't remember all the statistics, but I remember a woman coming out of the Bank of America saying, I just pulled $70,000 out and I'm going to go put it in Selco Credit Union. And that's awesome, you know? So we've made little dents, but in terms of global finance, that is very small. But one thing we can see in history is the use of, on the local level, eroding away at the foundations of oppression. And that's what I think we need to do. And the ripple effects, I believe and hope, will have very global ramifications and global effects by that. So to take it back, what are we going to do in our own community? Mm-hmm. We've marched a lot of times. I've marched a lot of times in the past 6 months. I've held a lot of signs, and that's great. And it's a good way to vent anger, but there's also a large amount of people that maybe are tired of holding this sign or walking around the block and saying the banks got bailed out. And so it's time to broaden the perspective of what Occupy means and what kind of tactics we can use. Mm-hmm. And I am at this point, and there's a whole group of people that are on board with this, and many more that aren't occupiers that I think will be invigorated and inspired by this type of activism. And the type of activism is a joyous activism. And it's doing performance pieces in drab, dull places that shake up the status quo. I mean, to follow like a Carl Jungian idea, unless you can shake up that status quo of their own mind, you're never going to get an individual or a society to grow. So we need to shake up the status quo to get people to question. Questioning is the first step of organizing. That's why they killed Socrates, but that's a different subject. But so we need to get people to question. But I don't want to yell at people to get them to question. I don't want to be like, listen up! Why did Barack Obama and Mitt Romney come from the same college and have the same fraternity? And, you know, like, you know, I don't want to yell at people. Those things. You know, I want to joyfully, creatively question. And so, like, one idea is, like, I was at the DMV recently, and there's a woman, and she was like, this is stupid. She's like, all this paperwork, all this bureaucracy makes me mad. And I was reading one of those culture industry magazines, and I put it down, and I was like, yeah, you're right. And I just started talking to her. I'm like, sorry if I was eavesdropping. And she's like, well, I'm just glad that I'm not the only one that sees that things could be different and better. I'm like, no, there's a lot of ways that we could make this world better. There's a lot of ways that we can make our government more efficient and you know, make our processes more streamlined to be effective. And so one idea that we have along this culture and art thing is like going to drab, dull government places with rolls of paper and unrolling it and then bringing markers and telling people as they're waiting in line bored, like, write and draw what you would like to see in the world for a better world. And then, you know, kind of gently facilitate that whole activity to be like, wow, look at all that we have in common, you know? And depending on how receptive people are, you can even get deeper and be like, now what are some ways that we can accomplish this?
Right, right. Yeah.
You know, some other things that we've thought up, or that I've thought up, is like going into a bank dressed up as circus creatures or animals.
I figured you had to be dressed up for the DMV thing too.
Yeah. And I just got this woman who from Oregon Country Fair who said, I have a huge closet full of costumes. Use them at your will.
Nice.
And it's like, yes. So like, what if we all dress up like actual Beatles maybe and go into a bank and sing Money Can't Buy Me Love? Or go into a mall on Valentine's Day. You know, and start singing Money Can't Buy Me Love, or on Columbus Day, you know, we could like take a little fence and rope off maybe city council and say that we discovered this chunk of land in the name of Christopher Columbus. Things like that, really a keto type of activism, and using aggression to flip it around and make it become nonviolent. Like another idea. Recently, the DOT spent $20,000 to put up a little fence under an underpass that homeless people camp on. And it's meant to keep homeless people out from there. They probably have a safety reason. There's probably some reason.
Well, at least one they're stating.
Yeah, you know, I hope it's ignorance and not malice for why they do things like this. But either way, one thing that we could do is take a little rope and rope off their office and leave a bow tie right in front of their door. It's the type of tie that you could easily undo. And put a bunch of place cards hanging from the rope saying, I'd rather spend $20,000 on education. I'd rather spend $20,000 on drug prevention programs, and make it where it's untied, so they have to untie their bonds of oppression to
empower
enter their
them.
office. Empower them to undo their own mistakes.
This is the kind of creativity that we need. This is the and I guess we really haven't had that much of so far in our local movement.
I think, you know, October 15th, in which people protested on every continent that is inhabited, and people protested in over 100 cities on like 50 countries or something like that. I forget the stats. Numbers come and go. It's a flaw of my own persona. But anyways, all around the world on October 15th, there was this big uprising of people going, I just had enough. And we marched all over the globe, and it was unplanned, and we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. It emerged from the collective unconscious. And it makes sense that first we were just reacting to all the stuff we were sick and tired of. And now, though, I think that work is going to continue, and I hope that those people don't get burnt out and continue on with it. And I want to support from time to time. But I also concurrently want to help implement activism out of creation, out of a spot of, okay, enough of what we are against. Let's just start building our alternative structures. And I don't.
It's got to start sometime.
Yeah, and I don't mean like going out in the woods and starting communes, because like I believe that we have to interact with the society. We can't retreat from it, and we can't get too wrapped up in our own Occupy culture. Occupy will lose relevance to me and many other people if we just get too inward. So we got to, one thing, that's why I like Occupy more than the general stereotypical hippie movement, is because it's interacting with society and trying to shed light on darkness.
Yeah, and at its best, it's not a generic stereotypical hippie movement, because
it's not.
If we're truly going to succeed, and I like to look at it in these terms, you know, we don't talk about if we succeed, because there's no point in doing anything if is the best we can hope for. We're doing these things because we intend to succeed, and so it's important then to figure out what does success look like. You know, it's important for us to identify who we are responding to. You know, what are the great oppressive forces we're responding to?
Yes.
But it's way more important to start to figure out where is it we're taking this.
Yes, yes. Yeah. We got to, as we, the forces of creation and destruction have to work at the same time. So as we destroy the systems that don't work for us, we have to create alternatives to put into place so that we have something to, and there's lots of historical situations where you can see movements that turned into revolutions, but they didn't work on the building up of alternative system. They threw out the bad guys and
became the bad guys.
Yeah, because they didn't create a better way at the same time. So we do have to learn from these mistakes of the past. There's a thing that you said that I really like, and that's not talking about if, but saying we intend to do this.
Yeah.
And so we do got to create values of hope, for example. That's one of the things I believe in. And hope is not optimism. Optimism is a little naive, but hope is you do something because it's right, not because it's good, not because you think it's going, no, because it's good, but not because it's popular or you think you're going to succeed or whatnot.
Think you're going to get a payday somewhere down the road.
Yeah, you do it just because it's right and because you believe in the act, and so you have hope in that act.
Well, I look at it in terms of you know, we live in this moment, and this moment is all we have. You know, there's the past that we remember and the future that we think about, but they exist only in this moment as well. I mean, you know, what you and I were talking about 5 minutes ago only exists in this moment, you know? And us reaching back to what we were talking about 5 minutes ago is a function of now. And us looking into the future is a function of now. So if the future is going to be anything, it's going to be what happened in this moment. I don't know. I said it much more clearly a week or so ago.
Ain't that how it always goes? Go on.
But the point is, what we're doing now is creating the future. And
so we need to start, as a society, we need to start thinking up of a new story. A new story for our civilization. And if you look at the movies in the past couple years, there have been a lot of movies about apocalypse type stuff. A lot of people are scared of 2012 type stuff. A lot of people are scared of recessions or the sixth great extinction period. And these are all stories that are existing. We are at this great opportunity now, through the choices we make in this moment, to live or create a story for the future, a new mythos about how we once again reestablish harmony with nature and harmony with each other. And we kind of rein in the economy, and you know, Occupy is I feel like in one of its regards, it started as an economic movement. And so we need to understand that economy comes from a Greek word ekoi, which means home. So does ecology. So we need to think about home. So how can we make our economy serve our ecology and our ecology serve our economy? And we can create systems and stories that allow us to understand how to do that. And so it's a heady time for this.
And we get to write those stories right now.
Yes.
Because we're creating the future. Because we're writing the stories today about the world that we're going to be in tomorrow. And creating the culture through those stories.
Yes. So, you know, some other ideas that we want to do in local Eugene during this summer.
So now you...
Go on.
Well, I just wanted to... we're diving a little bit deeper into the group that you're talking about. So you guys met last night. And I've heard the new Merry Pranksters, Kesey Square Revival, a couple of labels attributed to this group that you're meeting with. But have you identified yourselves? Are you?
There's not a name necessarily yet, and it's just a bunch of Occupy people that I thought would be interested in joyous activism. So I called them all together. And another thing is, you know, oftentimes our meetings are centered around like sitting in tables and really serious. And I think some meetings need to be that way. But also, like, let's have some meetings with potlucks. You know, so we had a potluck and we had a little bit of beer, you know, and just kind of chilled like as humans, and talked about like how we can build our inspiration. So I don't even know if it needs a name for it.
Right. Okay.
But a loose group of people to go out, and some of the other ideas that we had for creating a better system is you had the Kindista people on earlier recently. Well, one thing that we've talked about is there's the Kindista people in our own community of Eugene, and there's the Emerald Valley Time Exchange with the Time Bank, and there's lots of crafts people and stuff. Lots of people thinking about new economics or alternative economic systems. And right now they've been gathering primarily in a sense of talking about ideas or talking about it, but what if we host like a fair for people to explore and implement and trade their gifts, trade their services, and their alternative currencies, and help facilitate all of these groups coming together and networking them together so that we can build stronger and so that we all can go our separate ways and spread those ripples and really build that network so that we can it's a form of direct action against the flaws of our current monetary system. Another thing we would like to do, which is unrelated but related, is like taking public spaces that are decimated or ignored or trashed and beautifying them up. Like, what if we beautify... There's a place behind a gas station on 6th Street, and it's filled with, like, cigarette butts and weeds and stuff. What if we spend a couple days going in there and building a little garden, maybe a free garden, and we build a garden, and then we host a free concert when we're done, just to create a more public space and create community and create good vibes, allow people to meet each other, beautify our city.
Keep pop and culture up everywhere it has a chance to, and especially what you're saying is let it pop up out of neglect, the ugly things that we turn our eyes away from. Yeah. So make the beautiful things pop up out of those things. It's a transformative energy. Yeah. You were talking something a second ago. Oh yeah, we were talking about Kindista. I'm sure they would love it if you were to start doing that, getting people together to start practicing the sharing economy, and that's implementing change. That's implementing the steps that you need to change the world. Yeah. And it can only happen you have to take the steps. You don't go from here we are in the grand economy today to boom, there we are in the gift economy. There's that whole transitional stage.
And you have to understand that we still exist within a bigger system. So like we got to take our time with these changes. I have a album coming out in about 2 months. And I want to do it on a donation base. I would love to do it on a gift basis, but the fact of the matter is I still have to pay the cost to produce it all. So I have to pay those bills. So start off with a donation based and hopefully work towards that.
Right. Yeah. We can't just jump into the gift economy tomorrow. We're just not ready for it.
No.
Yeah, because my understanding of it is that it only works when you have massive buy-in. But it can start small, as all cultural movements do. I mean, truly, culture is what we make. So it's between you and me, and then you and me and Graham over there, and then we start adding more and more people. That's where it comes from. Yeah.
And so 2 things I think that people are super attracted to, and maybe this is what I'm super attracted to, is food and music.
Potlucks.
Potlucks or jams. And if I can be there, I'll be there, because that's fun, and that's a positive thing. And so another thing that we want to do is really try to help create more space for local musicians to get out there and spread their messages, especially ones with conscious messages or messages that are related to Occupy themes or activist type of themes. Because one thing that's so cool about music is it establishes those values, and people can sing along, and when you sing along, you're repeating that idea, and it can become like a mantra or a belief system that gets deeply ingrained in your being. And so I really want to help in the creation of that. Like another idea that we've had is to go to the Art Walk and maybe do it downtown at Kesey Square and just have improvisational type of thing where like bring your instruments, bring your paintbrushes, your canvases, your drums, your voice. It's about participation, not perfection, and let's all come down and make art together and really allow people to also express themselves.
So that'd be transforming the art walk, because the art walk is normally about coming in and viewing art that was made in advance of the art walk.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you're saying the art walk is about creating the art.
And it can also be about stuff in advance too, but this is an alternative and a way of doing it that hopefully would be empowering, and I believe it would be empowering to a lot of people to come and just share inspiration and share art and co-create. And also, by doing this, you have to learn to work together. Like when I'm banging on my drum with a bunch of other people, you know, we all have to agree on a rhythm.
Yeah,
you know, and that process of
and you also have to know how to hold the rhythm, which is my problem when I'm banging on the drum.
I keep it simple. I'm like the I'll be like, I'll hold down the backbone of the rhythms. You virtuosos can, you know, go and freestyle off the top of that, but, you know, I'll keep the centered space of the rhythm. But by doing that, we have to learn how to collaborate and learn how to work together. And this has ramifications in how we interact with our family, how we interact with our coworkers. Just that simple practice through music can have effects in other areas of our life, which creates a better world if we learn how to get along.
Which is what we're all about, creating a better world.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's get into downtown Eugene a little bit, because when you said you wanted to be on this show, when we talked about being on this show, that was one of the things I sparked on is eventually, and you said it already, you know, your goal is to have people sitting around Friday afternoon saying, oh, what you going to do tonight? And I'm like, well, let's go down to Kesey Square. What I would like to see, my vision is, it starts Friday night at Kesey Square. It extends all day Saturday, you know, free speech, Saturday market, you know, that's when we're going to have the most people already downtown. I mean, we're getting 1,000 people gathering, you know, to go to the Saturday market downtown already.
That's a great idea, because it would help the Saturday market and help the movement.
And the Free Speech Plaza, it's generally pretty full these days, but, you know, start getting people gathered there to speak their minds about what's going on, but also to share culture, share music, share art there. And then, you know, close it off on Sunday, and all day Sunday downtown, you know?
You got a lot of energy.
I got a lot of hope. Yeah, but hopefully our community has a lot of energy to do that. But it just seems to me that the national energy is going to be building over the summer. I mean, you know, we're going to be electing a new president, and our two major candidates are going to be under the microscope, and they're going to be delivering their messages. And you know, what can we hope for? What can we hope for from them? And usually, my impression is going to be that we're all going to be just a little dissatisfied, and we're going to need to express that somehow. You know, we don't want it to just stay pent up. We want it out there. So that's energy that's going to be building up. And it's our job to give it a conduit to express it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not all like art needs to be like super happy-go-lucky. It's very healthy to vent or to, you know, I was at a punk rock show recently, and I was headbanging, and we were protesting against the fun police, and our sore the next day. Almost cussed. I caught myself nice.
There you go.
Really sore the next day, but it is fun sometimes to just yell and get out that aggression and vent, and that still like shares our beliefs and promotes them. And I think that's a great idea, though, of like gathering around the Saturday market. Never occurred to me before, but already a lot of people come down to the market. And at the Free Speech Plaza, they already have a drum circle. They already have a bunch of street kids and preachers and, you know, all kinds of people.
Just meld right in.
Yeah, we could meld in and kind of facilitate or help collaborate with people to help actually take it a step further. And it will help us and it will help them. So it's a very symbiotic relationship if we did it right. We couldn't just come in there and be like, oh, we're a high and mighty activists that are going to impose our beliefs on y'all. But
no, but if we start now in June, by the time we get to the 1-year anniversary of Occupy, we're not expecting everybody to just stand up and take notice. Say you get there, June 23rd. We're not expecting everybody to just stand up and say, "Oh yeah, that's it. We're all here. We're all with you. Whatever." But you go down the road a little bit, you a little bit on the June 23rd, you're not just mingling with people, whatever, just feeling the energy out, seeing where it can go, and then a little bit, you take what you learned that week, the next week you're back with your lessons, with your friends, with your musical instruments and your art, and just take it a little further. But it's one little step, and we got about 12 steps, between now and 3 months from now. You get to be out there 12 times, and then what is it at the end of that? I think using all the things that you're talking about today, marshaling all of that energy, your boundless energy, and putting it into. I like that. You went for the energy after I said that.
It's like I better make sure it's boundless.
Yeah. But eventually, it grows into something. It takes perseverance. It takes focus. It takes repetition. But at the end, it could be something amazing. But it doesn't happen on its own.
Yeah. And embrace the process. That's the biggest thing that art has taught me. There's a common saying that if you want to paint a masterpiece, start with a simple sketch. And activism can be, you can apply that artistic process to activism. And
you have to.
You have to, yeah. Look at how many learning lessons we've already endured as a movement in our short 7 months.
and still are. I mean, there's all kinds of lessons going on this week if you read the listserv.
Yeah, and I just hope that people don't get discouraged by the challenges and struggles and get burnt out by them, and instead look at them as a fun task. It's a challenge. I personally, maybe, and this is the sadist in me, is I like challenges. That's really fun, because when you succeed after all that struggle, it's like, yes,
I agree.
We did it.
I agree. You don't want it just handed to you. It doesn't mean anything.
It's same thing with a song. You maybe produce 10 songs that aren't that good, but that 11th song that rocks, and you're just like, oh yeah, I can't wait to show this to people. And to go back, one other thing I really want to say that's cool about going down to Kesey Square, or going down to the Saturday market, is we can really help people instead of like really trying to impose our beliefs on them, impose like, you need to change, you need to help change this system. Right. We can just simply go out there and be servants of society too. And by bringing attention to the Saturday market, for example, vendors across the board are suffering. Like, I've talked to a vendor recently who's on the council for the Saturday market, and she said sales are probably down 40% this year. And it's really sad. And a lot of them are struggling. So I went down, I paid $15 for his t-shirt last weekend.
All right.
But we can start shedding light and shedding energy on them, and then they'll go, yeah, all right, Occupy, all right, let's be a part of this, because they're looking out for us. And so we're going to look out for them too.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it's all about. I mean, we're not some elite group that has the secret, We're a group of concerned individuals who are trying to figure out the answer, and the only way we're going to do that is with a lot of help and a lot of input. Yeah. So that's the vision I have, down there. It's not just us coming down and saying, this is the way it's going to be.
We're superheroes.
Yeah. Whip out our cape and just save the day. We're not going to do that. But we can say, here we are, we're seeking solutions to the same problems that are plaguing you. what do you say we work together?
Yes, yes.
But if we just say that, just like I did now, if you walk up to people, they're like, I don't know, I mean, nobody's ready for that. Nobody's ready to give the answer to that question. What is the solution? So we would need to come there and be ready for a process, an incremental process.
Incremental process, and just focus on the process and simple steps. Paying attention to that process, I think if we just trust in taking those simple steps, that we will come to the answers when they be presented. Like one idea we were talking about is joyous change, creating little coins that are called joyous change. On the back it says real change. And we do a gift of service for somebody, and we give them a coin so that they can pay it off to somebody later down the line. And this would be a community building type of thing. But I think what's cool about this type of emphasis that we've been talking over for the last couple minutes and the last couple tangents we've talked about, one of the things I think will be so beneficial for our movement and so in the spirit of Occupy is getting past that era where we place all of our faith in leaders or we wait on Jesus.
This goes back to your t-shirt.
And putting trust in ourselves. We have such a hero fixation in our culture right now. Look how many superhero movies get published and put out. But we need to write another story in which we all contribute our own little parts and that we all are co-creating a better world, and we are all leaders, we are all heroes, and we all need to hold each other accountable and responsible to each other.
Yeah. So I pointed out your T-shirt though, and it totally ties in with what you're saying. What is the message on your T-shirt?
It says, "Stop believing in authority. Start believing in each other."
Yeah.
And this is spreading culture. I love it, dude. Like, it's a message. I'm a walking billboard, but instead of a Nike swoosh, which includes like sweatshops and stuff like this, I'm wearing a different message that says, let's start believing in each other. And so that's beautiful.
Yeah, which is exactly what you're just saying. We're not waiting for the superheroes. We know that the only superheroes are going to show up are us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the environmental destruction and resource depletion that we have in the current age that we are living in, we are and all the economic inequality, we are writing an awesome plot line for our civilization and our culture and our humanity as a whole to get ourselves out of. At the end of the movies, the archetypal story curve is always, at the last minute they figure out to clip the red wire instead of the blue wire so the bomb doesn't blow up the building. I think that we are subconsciously creating that scenario so that we can implement a new way of being at that last minute before we collapse our systems that we need to support our civilization and humanity.
And we need to try something new, because what we've been trying for the last 40 years at least isn't working.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not working for the bulk of us.
No.
And you can argue that it isn't even working for the people at the top who seem to be gaining all the benefits of this system, because they're isolated. Their values are warped to the point where they probably can't even meet their own needs anymore, even though they have all the resources to meet their needs.
Yeah.
There's certain needs inside that no amount of money is going to change.
Yeah. At the turn of the 1900s, it was interesting, like clubs like the Elks Lodge and the Moose Lodge and clubs like that, you would have people from different economic classes that would be in these clubs together. And you didn't quite have the geographic separation between affluent and working class that you do now. And I think it's really been corrosive to society. I don't think that we need to create a system in which everybody has everything completely fair. Or not fair, I do believe in fairness, but in completely equal, because people have different interests, they have different needs, they have different abilities. But we do need to make sure that the system is fair and that everybody has a chance and that everybody has their basic needs met. And I do think that by getting multiple classes and types of people to interact again, we can help remedy this problem that keeps going like this in the last 40 years.
Right. And to loop that back around to the subject that we're dealing with, culture and art, what a better way than through culture and art to bring all those people back together again.
Because everybody can sing a song, or everybody can dance a little, or even sit down if if you can't maybe dance, but sit down and nod your head and smile.
Tap your toe.
Yeah.
But we all resonate to it. That's why art is so important, because it strikes those chords. It strikes those chords that the people at the top who are relying on cash to meet all their needs, it strikes that chord that they're missing. It reaches into the empty spots that money can't fill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so of course, if we are going to be, taking steps to change this, to change, the oppressive economic structures that we exist in today, you gotta reach for something that has intrinsic value. Mm-hmm. Which in this case is the bonds between us, the culture that we create, and manifest that outward. The thing that I most want to focus on, though, in this discussion, I mean, there's so many things, but the thing that I bring to it is just that idea that as the summer goes, I really want to see that develop. I want to see a place for it to develop. I want to, we're not going to bring people out because of their righteous indignation.
Yeah.
That'll actually, righteous indignation is going to keep people isolated.
Yeah.
So we need to give a joyous space, like you were saying.
Yeah.
To draw people in. And if there's any message that we can deliver, it needs to be delivered within that joyous space.
Exactly, and that's why music is so important. I had this day at work recently, and it was the day after the local election. And I was bummed that Rob Handy got defeated. Yeah. And I was like, I was upset, and I asked all my coworkers, and not a single one of them voted. I was the only place in the building that voted, the only person in the building that voted. Broke my heart. I was upset for a while. And I was talking to this girl, and she's like, I just like to walk around the woods and think about fairies. And I was like, yeah, but like the people that we elect make decisions on if we're going to have woods that we can walk around in to pretend about fairies. And anyways, later in the day, she was talking with another coworker about how they spent the weekend going out to the bar and drinking and seeing these bluegrass bands. And they're talking about having fun, And I think that's where we can really use music as a tool to help encourage service and encourage participation in the world that we live in. And it's joyous, and you can dance. What did P-Funk say back in the 70s? Free your mind and your booty will follow. They used the 3-letter word for it that I won't use,
Good job.
No, they said free your booty and your mind will follow. And then Public Enemy, the hip-hop group in the 90s, flipped it, and they said, well, free your mind and your booty will follow. But either way, like you can dance and insert really good messages into those songs that will hopefully get people like my coworkers out being active and out actively engaging in history and actively engaging in the direction our society is going. And I do want to follow up and say I'm no longer mad at them. I was mad for a couple hours that day, but I realized we have to work together 32 hours a week. We might as well be friends and like each other.
That's right, that's right.
And that's another way that we can, I thought about, well, what can I do to subtly, slowly inspire these girls to be more active in the world? And part of it is making songs that are danceable that also slip in good messages.
Okay.
Brain food.
Yeah. Okay, well, given the idea that the future is created in the now, what do you say, we got 9 minutes left, let's create a little bit of that future in the now right now. What is your vision? What is your vision? I mean, we've danced around the idea, but we haven't really spelled it out. What is your vision for downtown Eugene on September 17th, the anniversary of the occupation at Zuccotti Park?
Wow.
What do you see happening? Not necessarily each step. Let's just go right there. What is that big old party downtown Eugene 3 months from now?
Wow, I honestly have not even thought that far in advance because I'm so focused on Left Step. right step, left step, right step. But, you know, I do think that that initial energy that we had, I think that we can recapture that. And I think that if we do everything right and get lucky, we will have that same amount of energy by October or September 17th. We'll have that same energy that we had at the beginning, in which we were all just so happy that we all cared. You know, I remember probably when I first met you, I was like, whatever individual personality traits you have, I don't care. You're awesome because you care about this world that we live in. And that's the place that we all started from. And we had such good cooperation and teamwork at that stage, and real solidarity. And I think that we can get back there.
Yeah. Okay, well, what is there? What is, I mean, is it in numbers? Is it 2,000 people? Is it 3,000 people? Is it 5,000 people? And where are they? Are we shutting down Oak Street and 8th Street because the crowds are so huge that they're just spilling out into the road?
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I haven't dreamt that up.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it right now. I mean, and is there a big stage over at Free Speech now? Because people from all up and down the coast are saying, "Look what's going on in Eugene. I want to be a part of that."
Or
and
where they are in their own place, yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's happening all up and down the coast, but we're not there. We're here. So we've got this huge space that we're creating, which we have the ability to create. And it's so dynamic, it's so vibrant, and people are drawn to it, not just here in Eugene, but people are from all over the place. They're saying, okay, yeah, I was in Eureka, California yesterday at their big stage. I was in San Francisco 2 days ago at their big stage, and now I'm at Eugene's big stage, and they're just, you know, people with the message, people with the juice.
So maybe something that would be cool that we could do is like we start off, maybe, you know, we do the traditional march or something or whatnot, but we shut down the banks for a day. And I don't believe that on any one day we can permanently shut down the banks, but we can at least shut them down for an afternoon, like we have already on numerous occasions. We shut them down all for an afternoon, and we come back, and yeah, maybe we do just have a big performance, but we also create space for booths, for sharing of ideas, sharing of help the Kindista type people out there. There's so many beautiful ideas in Eugene, so many cool clusters of people on the verge of solutions. But we really create an umbrella big enough for all of them to coexist, and a support network for all of them, all of us, to rise up together. You know, and this is perfect because it's the fall time. I personally don't believe that we can look to a president for answers, the Supreme Court for justice. Maybe I've just had my heart broken too many times over the past couple of years. I was drinking the Obama Kool-Aid in 2008.
I didn't even have a taste for it then.
Well, good for you. I thought I'll try it this time. And, you know, so just continuing this long work that's going to take years to erode the foundation of our oppressive system. But we have a feel-good party, and we also have tables and booths and discussing ideas. And, you know, maybe we do this at a claimed space that we claim. And I can only provide so much. That's why I learned with the group that we met last night. Like, I had a loose idea, and I presented to a dozen people, and people just started firing off all kinds of beautiful ideas that I didn't have the foresight into. And so that's why I try to be very limited and just include like a little niche or a role, and let everybody fill in their own beautiful ideas and inspirations. Because if I get too, I realize this with my music, because I'm a solo artist, and I'm very attached to every drum, every word, everything. And I have trouble collaborating because I have a very distinct vision of how everything needs to be, and I get mad if people go, well, why don't you try it like that? I'm like, no, dude, what are you talking about? I like it like this. And so, like, with activism, I don't want to totally dream it all up. But I think you're on to something, like a big celebration. It would be cool if we could get the protest against and then the protest for in a 1-2 combination. Like shut down with what we're against, do the destructive aspect, and then go into the creative aspect and what we're for and the joyous stuff. And just show that we can do both in one afternoon.
Yeah. Now, the point I was trying to get at, though, is that sure, 3 months from now this is happening, but there's still all that space between 3 months from now and now. That it's growing incrementally each step of the way. So that sure, yeah, we do march on the banks, we do all these wonderful things, and we close it with this big, huge party. But the vision I have is that it's growing along the way. That's why that's why these people who are traveling up and down the coast have a place to be each time they stop. Because if it's only one day, then they only get one shot at it. But if it's a continual process with people, with masses gathering, steadily greater masses gathering, and resonating with the message, or resonating against the message, quite often would be the case of what's happening in the nation. What's happening in these presidential debates, which most of us are going to be listening to and saying, that is just you're not addressing the issues that we need. Yeah, you're not addressing the root. And as all of us are frustrated by that, we're going to need somewhere to go. So I just see a steadily building type of energy over the course of this summer, and I see culture, I see art, I see music as the way to draw people together to work together to create some kind of solution. And we won't solve it this summer. But maybe next summer we have even bigger numbers. Yeah, we make progress, and it took a long time to get into these problems, so it's going to take a long time to get our way out of it. I agree. But I'm so happy about already the steps that have been taken to like the medical committee going out and just offering free medical, because we have the best drugs, hospitals in the world that nobody can afford. So I think it's really beautiful that just coming together, that resilience of saying, hey, we're just going to do it together. We're going to look out for each other. And that's what we had at the beginning with the camp. And that type of energy we need to recapture. I don't think we need to have a camp to do it. If the movement decides organically that we need to have a camp, I'll go along with it and help out with it and embrace it. I don't think we need a camp, though, at the same time. But capturing that spirit, that mind frame, is what we need to have a few months from now. And we just need to keep growing it on that level. Yeah. Because the people believe in us. Here's a little funny story I have. It's got to be short. I know. Okay. We're getting done. I want to tell this story. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Okay, so here's the things I want to end with. 3 points. Okay. All right. I was walking back the other day, and I had a sign, and there are some bodyguards outside of the Wells Fargo. So I ran up with my sign, just me alone. I was like, I'm going to shut you down. And there's 2 bodyguards, and they go like this, and I go, no, I'm just playing with y'all. And they laugh, and they're like, you have shut us down before. I was like, yeah, you're right, I have. We have shut you down before. Anyways, I just started talking, listening to them, and these 2 guys, okay, I'm going to go really fast, and they both, by the end, one was on food stamps, one lost their farm, and they're like, if things keep getting worse for us, we are going to be out there with you. And they believed in us, but they're the bodyguards for the bank, just paying this stuff to survive, and so the people believe in us, or they believe in our ideas, and if we provide an opportunity, a network, and a culture, a framework to embrace them, open arms, when they're ready, they will come, and we can pull them in and build. Yeah. All right, and we got to throw a big party to get them out there. Last thing, though, Friday, Kesey Square. I hope to see you there. Every Friday, downtown Eugene, Kesey Square. Today, it was Occupy TV with Plaedo, MC Plaedo. I'm Dave Sierra Lupe. We hope to see you next week. Thank you for coming. Cool. All right. All right.
Something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun